The time is 6:15. Here is the news edited by Anjana Thudangoda, read by Victor Raj. Here are the headlines of the local news. The President hints at VAT revision, promises to alleviate tax burden and increase benefits. World Bank ready to assist in achieving the presidential goal. The police deployed in public transport to tackle abuse. NVQ3 certificates to be issued to toddy tappers and pluckers after 2 weeks training. Navy enhances sanitary standards at schools in Badawachia. Foreign news. Pakistan election to deadly blast in Balochistan day before vote. Sports news. Wheelchair tennis. Disanayaka Dharmasena power into quarterfinals. Local news in detail. President Ranil Wickremesinghe, delivering the government's policy statement in Parliament today, revealed that the government aims to alleviate the tax burden on the people as the economy continues to stabilize with the implementation of economic reforms. The President further said this will provide room for a potential revision of the value-added tax percentage, which was increased from 15% to 18% with effect from the outset of 2024. Acknowledging that the VAT hike poses a burden for many people, the President said the government is systematically addressing this issue. The head of state presented the government's policy statement to the House after ceremonially declaring open the 5th session of the 9th Parliament on Wednesday morning. The President said there has been a substantial increase in tax registration, with the number of registered taxpayers soaring from 437,547 in 2022 to 1,029,000 by the end of 2023, recording an increase of 130%. As the tax network expands, the burden on individuals and organizations will diminish. He promised to take measures to increase the benefits provided to the people as the government's revenue increases. The Chairman, Palmyra Development Board, Dr. Krishanta Pathiraja, said plans on the way to award the National Vocational Qualification Level 3 certificate issued by the National Apprentice Board to those who were engaged in toddy tapping and plucking nuts. According to Palmyra Development Board, approval has been given to issue National Vocational Qualification 3 to those who are involved in tapping palmyra, kithul and coconut trees and plucking nuts in Sri Lanka after 2 weeks of training. The discussion was chaired by Agriculture and Plantation Industries Minister Mahinda Amaravira. The Minister directed the Chairman of the Palmyra, Kithul and Coconut Development Boards to introduce a program to help the people involved in toddy tapping and plucking nuts. Dr. Pathiraj said arrangements had been made to provide an NVQ3 level certificate and to 2-week training for the safety and welfare of those people. An island-wide police operation targeting individuals who commit acts of abuse against children and women in public transport has been initiated. The Public Security Minister said the operation's primary objective is to combat sexual abuse within public transport services, addressing the increasing number of complaints received by the police station on a daily basis. Acting Inspector General Police Desibandhu Thennakon has directed the implementation of this operation. Accordingly, police officers in civilian clothes will travel in buses, with special attention being paid to streets, bus stops and railway stations. Police said arrangements have been made to deploy a group of police officers in uniforms, specially covering the main roads, ready to provide assistance to the officers travelling in civilian clothes when they need assistance. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Continuing with more local news, As part of Naval social responsibility initiatives, the Navy came forward to enhance sanitary standards at several schools in Madhvachya by enabling its manpower. The funds necessary for the project were provided by philanthropists from overseas. The facilities made available at Puleliya Vidyalaya, Tulavelliya Vidyalaya and Ginikatu Vidyalaya, Rambava were declared open to those schools on 5th February 2024. The construction work of the project was carried out by the Civilian Engineering Department in the North Central Naval Command under the supervision of Commander North Central Naval Area Rear Admiral Nalin Navaratna. The funds required for these magnanimous efforts were made possible by the philanthropist domiciled in the United States. Through this initiative, the Navy successfully addressed a long-standing requirement for the children attending those schools. The President of the Maldives, Dr. Moizu, submitted nominations for the ambassadorial positions of 3 countries to the Parliament yesterday. In his correspondence to Parliament, President Moizu put forth names for the ambassadorial appointments to Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Belgium and European Union in accordance with the Article 14 of the Maldives Foreign Service Act. Masudi Maad, who is designated as the ambassador to Sri Lanka, previously served as the press secretary of the government of Mohammed Wahid. Gila Ali, the nominee for Belgium and the EU, formerly held the position of Permanent Secretary to the Ministry of Health and has prior experience within the Foreign Ministry. That ends local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Vedamahatmya.
A discussion was held at the Ministry of Agriculture yesterday about getting support for many agricultural projects to be implemented by the Ministry of Agriculture and Plantation Industries. The discussion was chaired by the Minister of Agriculture and Plantation Industries Mahinda Amaravira and the representatives of the World Bank and senior agricultural economist, a senior advisor and others joined the discussion. Drone technology, fencing with electric circuits used to prevent crop damage, providing parachute discs, uplifting the dairy industry, etc., were discussed here. There was a discussion about obtaining financial allocations for these areas, especially under World Bank loan assistance. The Minister of Agriculture, Mahinda Amaravira, who expressed his views here, said that the President Ranil Wickremesinghe has instructed the Ministry of Agriculture to set up a work order to double the paddy yield in Sri Lanka in the next 6 cropping seasons and that the necessary new technology for rice cultivation should be provided. That ends main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Vedamahatmya.
Moving on to Watchlight. Due to the ongoing financial crisis and import restrictions, the government announced yesterday that it would be impossible to import vehicles for a considerable period of time. Addressing the weekly Cabinet media briefing, Cabinet spokesman Dr. Bandulu Gunawardena yesterday said that import restrictions will be relaxed carefully and gradually. The Central Bank of Sri Lanka will inform the Cabinet about how they take decisions to relax the import restrictions gradually. That came to you on Watchlight.
Coming up, World News.
Headlines first. Pakistan election, 2 deadly blasts in Balochistan day before vote. Former President of Chile dies in helicopter crash. Kenyan cult leader charged with murder of 191 children. World News in detail. 2 bomb explosions have killed at least 20 people in Pakistan's Balochistan province on the eve of general elections, officials say. The first blast killed 12 people in front of an independent candidate's party office in Pishin district. A second explosion left 8 people dead in a district in northwestern Balochistan province, about 150 kilometers away. Many others were injured in the 2 blasts. The election has been marred by violence and claims of poll rigging. Chilean ex-president Sebastián Piñera, who served 2 terms and was also a billionaire businessman, has died in a helicopter crash at the age of 74. 3 other people aboard the aircraft survived when it came down in a lake near the southern town of Lago Ranco. Ex-president had flown his own helicopter, but there was no official confirmation he had been the pilot during the crash. Kenyan Christian cult leader Paul Tenge Mackenzie and 29 others suspected were charged with the murder of 191 children on Tuesday morning by the Malindi High Court. The children's bodies were exhumed from the Shakahola forest in eastern Kenya last year, where Mackenzie and his associates are accused of running a death cult. The authorities exhumed over 400 bodies from the sprawling forest after months of search efforts. To wrap up the world news, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Pakistan election, 2 deadly blasts in Balochistan day before vote. Former president of Chile dies in helicopter crash. Kenyan cult leader charged with the murder of 191 children. That ends world news. Moving on to development news, the Korean International Cooperation Agency strengthens its presence in Sri Lanka. KOICA is the Korean government agency for grant aid under its mission of contributing to the common prosperity and the promotion of world peace through inclusive mutual development cooperation, leaving no one behind. KOICA Sri Lanka office has been implementing its voluntary programs and a variety of development projects and fellowship programs since 1991 with the Sri Lankan government, Korean NGOs and international organizations. It is particularly keen to put more efforts to support the most vulnerable in society to overcome the current crisis. That came to you on Development News.
Moving on with sports news.
Sri Lanka's Gamini Dissanayake and Suresh Dharmasena have made it to the quarter-finals of the online ITF Uniqlo Wheelchair Tennis Tour. The tournament kicked off at the SLTA hard court yesterday. Dissanayake had a convincing win against Karthik Karunakaran from India, triumphing 2-0 by winning both sets easily with a scoring of 6-0 in each set. The victory secured Disanayake's spot in the quarterfinals. That ends sports news.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු ගීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Pubudu Engineering Private Limited, a leading electrical panel board manufacturing company in Sri Lanka, under the chairmanship of TAS Premanal, celebrated its 33rd anniversary in the presence of the staff and the dignitaries on January 26, 2024. Employees who have been serving the company during the past years and over were felicitated for their services at this occasion. The staff and the management hailed the leadership of the chairman, managing director, and presented a token of appreciation to him at the ceremony. That ends Business News.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go එකක් තියන youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු ගීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account. NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Moving on to economic news, the government is poised to gradually relax measures taken to prevent the outflow of the foreign exchange implemented during the currency crisis in 2022. The Cabinet of Ministers, at its meeting on Monday, approved the proposal put forth by President Ranil Wickremesinghe in his capacity as the Minister of Finance, Economic Stabilization and National Policies. The move is based on the recommendations of the Governing Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, which has proposed the implementation of steps outlined in a phased plan to lift foreign exchange limitations. That ends economic news.
Weather report.
Mainly fair weather will prevail over the island. Misty conditions can be expected at some places in the central, Sabaragamu and western provinces and in the Kur and Matra districts during the morning. That ends the weather report. To wrap up the news on Radio Sri Lanka, let's take a look at the headlines once again. The President hints at VAT revision, promises to alleviate tax burden and increase benefits. World Bank ready to assist in achieving the President's goal. The police deployed in public transport to tackle abuse. NVQ3 certificates to be issued to toddy tappers and pluckers after 2 weeks training. Navy enhances sanitary standards at schools in Matavachia. Foreign news, Pakistan election. 2 deadly blasts in Balochistan day before vote. Sports news, wheelchair tennis. Disanaika and Dharmasena power into quarterfinals. With that, we wrap up the evening news on Radio Sri Lanka. Let's over to my good friend Chandima Veerakorn.